Hey, welcome. Hi, everybody. Leslie Plazz here. As you know by now, if you're returning, I am the author of The Audacious Adventures of Zazoo Plazz, part-time superhero, full-time mom. Back here on September 20th, Sunday, 2020. And it's a little late tonight. I've been kind of busy. And we've been moving some stuff out and around, and fall is coming. We're on the edge of Libra, the sun moving into Libra. And it's ironic that Libra has to do with justice, right? And the symbol of the scales. And this weekend, we're honoring the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who just passed away on Friday night. And she rest in peace. That's people are paying tribute to her, and there's a lot of activity swirling around the debate. Who's going to replace her and when? I won't get into that, but I started to think about her life and how much she did for women, and women's equality. And so I thought I would focus on the name Ruth today in my talk, because a name tells you a lot about a person. So I thought I would talk about a Ruth who is in my book. And this is also a real person. I'd like to talk about someone I call Auntie Ruth, who was our neighbor. I call her Auntie Ruth. She wasn't really my aunt, but the lady who lived across the street from us when I was growing up. I'll just read a little bit here. My parents had just built their green colonial with the white shutters in 1963, and the street was still quiet, so they hadn't hung any curtains up on the windows, so it was wide open. One evening, Mom caught sight of Auntie Ruth ensconced in her parlor, her front living room. She had a chair right there. She could see straight into my parents' living room. She was training her binoculars on their first dinner party. The next day and thereafter, there were white sheets, shears, and curtains on every inch of window facing the street. They may have protected themselves from external surveillance, but my folks were still subject to constant scrutiny from me. And then it goes on how, I sort of became a part-time private eye. Went around the neighborhood like Harriet the Spy, jotting notes in my little detective notebook. So, I wanted to take a moment. I'm looking in my childhood photo album again, and this is a photo I think my mother took with my camera, and I wrote voting October 1973. So it was in the roll with the October photos, but I think this must have been November of 1973 when I was 8. And because Auntie Ruth was a widow, just like in the Bible story, which I'll get to in a minute, my mother would take her places. She was an older lady, probably in her 70s, or around 80. It was hard to tell. I was a little kid. Everybody looks much older to you when you're a little kid. They all looked older than people of the same age now. Like, my parents seem younger than Auntie Ruth seemed then to me, but there we are standing. Used to be the, well, it's East Hartford High School now, but at the time it was the Penny High School parking lot. We used to vote at Penny High School near my house. So there's Auntie Ruth, and there's me, 8 years old in my little parka. And we had just been, looks like she's got a pen in her hand, doesn't it? You almost can't see her hair because it was white. It's a black and white photo, so it's completely hidden. But you can see a little bit. She's got her handbag there. She's got her coat buttoned up. It was cold. It must, see, judging by the trees, there's no leaves on the trees, so it looks like probably November, early November around my birthday. So I just turned 8. And then I started thinking, wow, that's amazing. That was one of the first times I remember going to vote with my mom and Auntie Ruth. And I think it was instilled in me at a young age. And because my birthday was November 2nd, very close to voting day, and this year it's going to be the day before the national election, it was always instilled in me, how important it was to go out and vote. No matter what party and whatever your views as an American citizen, that was your right and your privilege, It was a big deal. My son Brennan's going to vote for the first time. He's 20. It's his first election, and he gets to vote in for president anyway. So I started to tie some loose ends together. I started thinking, Ruth, Auntie Ruth, voting, Libra, the scales of justice. What is, what's the right thing, right? The discussion now is, what's the right thing to do? And we as a country, what's the best for our citizens and for the future? So I started looking up the book of Ruth in the Bible. And come to find out, Ruth was really a piece of work. Ruth was one of only two books in the Bible named for women. The other one was Esther. Like my husband's aunt's name was Esther. Is Esther. I think she's still around. So Ruth, and it's been called one of the most beautiful short stories in the Bible. And it's about a woman. And it's told from Naomi's point of view. Naomi was her mother-in-law. So here's a woman, Naomi, lost her husband. Ruth also, so there's Naomi. And, okay, so all three women, there was one other woman involved. I forget her name. But, so Ruth's mother-in-law lost her husband, lost everything. She was like the female Job of the Bible. So he's the guy who, like, everything bad happened to him. And Naomi was the female version of that, right? So what I found out, so really what we see is this story told by Naomi is God through the eyes of a woman. Imagine that, 2020. God through the eyes of a woman, and her name, and Ruth was the one who came and helped Naomi. She was the light in Naomi's world, and she wasn't even Jewish. She joined the family, and she became the mother of King David's grandfather, so which is in the line of Jesus. So Ruth is the symbol of loyal love, caring, caring for those who, a loving, faithful version of God, right? Caring for the lowest, for the neglected, for those who cannot, who seem to have nothing in the world, right? God has forgotten. No, God has not forgotten. Ruth means to have mercy, right? On those, the compassion for another's misery, empathy. So someone who is ruthless, right, is the opposite of Ruth, or ruthful. Someone who's ruthless has no pity or compassion. So now that we know the meaning of Ruth, it makes sense as we honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was of my mother's generation, and she did have compassion, didn't she? She spent her whole life looking out for those who were neglected, those who were left out, women who were not allowed. She herself was not allowed to work in a law firm because she had a small child, just like Ruth in the Bible. She said, okay, well, we'll see about that. Naomi said, I've lost everything. Ruth said, no, I'll see about that. Auntie Ruth. I'll see about that. I'm going to look into their living room and see what's going on in there. What's going on in there? Many more Auntie Ruth McGray House stories to come in future Zazoo books. But I thought this story was appropriate for today. Auntie Ruth, she was married to Poppy. Poppy passed away, so she was a widow also. And she was a very strong woman. Some may say controversial in some ways. Some of the things she did were brash, certainly, maybe a little unconventional. That's where all the stories came from, like Ruth in the Bible. One of the best short stories in the Bible had to do with a woman. So, and here's another book that has a brash heroine doing unconventional things that not everybody approved of. See? Women, we make good stories. To be continued. That's it for today. Signing out, Zazoo Plazz. Till next time.